Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and in this video, I'm going to be having a sit-down conversation with MrLlamaSC, who is huge in the Diablo 2 scene, speedruns the game, does content on it all of the time, thousands of videos and streams. So I want to get his perspective on the beta about to launch tomorrow, and maybe give some beginner tips, talk about the classes, and what to expect in the beta. So let's get into it. All right, well, now joined by MrLlamaSC. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Hey, can't complain. So go ahead, and I know my viewers are kind of into the mobile gaming, Raid Shadow Legends type scene mostly. So go ahead and let us know just the basics about yourself here real quick, your channel, what you do, and kind of your background, Diablo 2, that type of stuff.
Sure. I'm a Twitch and YouTube content creator. I create Diablo 2 content for 95% of probably what I make. So guides, just all sorts of videos of, going into crazy in depth in the game, speedrunning videos, just anything and everything with Diablo content. You're pretty much going to find it. Diablo 2 content for the most part on my channel. I do dip a little bit into, if there's Diablo 4 news, Diablo Immortal news, some of that stuff that's coming out. I'll talk on it, of course. But yeah, mostly just everything Diablo 2 and soon Diablo 2 Resurrected.
Yeah, so it's a big time for you, I'm sure, because right now your main thing is kind of the hot topic in gaming.
Yeah, we've got a beta coming out tomorrow, so that'll be exciting. Friday, and then obviously in like a month and in a couple weeks, we've got the actual game launch. So
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm excited. Yeah.
and I'm gonna try to get this video out right away, so you can say tomorrow. So
Okay.
I'm gonna try to get it up tonight. But like, so those people that are wondering, can they still get in the beta if they're watching this video and they haven't already? Is there any? Can they like still pre-order and run in and get in there?
Yeah, there's actually two ways, I believe, and I want to like make sure I have this 100%. Number one, if you pre-order the game, you get access to it, so that's like guaranteed. But number two, I believe they just announced if you watch 2.5 hours of Diablo 2 Resurrected on Twitch, twitch.tv/MrLlamaSC, then you can earn access immediately to the beta. So
Like what? You just watch like an official streamer like yourself, or?
yes, yeah. So I mean, I'm literally, this is like less than an hour ago that they tweeted it out. Drops will be available tomorrow for D2R streamers. If your channel has the drops enabled, which my channel will. And so while we're streaming D2R, if viewers are watching it after 2.5 hours, they will get access to early access beta there. So they'll be able to join in pretty dang quickly.
Okay, so then I believe it's going to be beta for the people that have pre-order purchased or whatever. And then it's going to be next weekend is going to be like an open beta, right?
Yeah, so it'll be early access beta starts tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
Anybody who watches 2.5 hours gets immediate access to that beta. That beta runs until the 17th. And then on the 20th to the 23rd is an open beta that's just literally open to anybody and everybody.
Even if they haven't bought the game.
Correct. I'm pretty sure it's even if they have not bought the game, I'm pretty sure they're just trying to do like the biggest load of servers ever.
Like a test for launch type of thing.
Yes. Yeah. So that is my understanding. If that's wrong in any capacity, I apologize. But that is my understanding of how it works.
And I will put his links down below if you want to flame him for being wrong. But
that's fair. I deserve it if I'm wrong.
When is the actual live launch then, basides the betas? Do we know the exact day?
Yeah. So September 23rd is the actual live launch for the game.
Okay. So. Cool. Well, that gets all the basics out of the way then. So I wanted to pick your brain on some things that people are going to be curious about if maybe they haven't played and they're wanting to get into it because it's kind of hyped, or maybe they played a long time ago. I think it's been out for like 20 years now, right?
Yep. Over 20 years.
So you got people like me that last time they played was probably like 8 years ago. So, what are some like just quick hitter beginner tips that you would kind of give if somebody's diving in during the beta or when it launches?
Oh man. The first thing that I'll say is I have a ton of guide videos up on my YouTube, like guided playthroughs, just newbie Tuesday, how to like all the basics of the game that talk through those sorts of things.
Okay.
But I can, so that's like a first plug because there's so much information that I don't, I could just
Yeah,
spend
for sure.
forever
Yeah,
here.
no, I know. Yeah.
But beyond that, what I can say is one, really try and look, and I can even jump in right here. So the first thing that I would say is make sure that you know that you can actually change your hotkeys. So you can change like what you want your skills to be right in here, because the default is going to be F1, F2, F3, F4, and a lot of people don't like using those,
Yep.
right? And so then you can set your hotkeys just hovering over and just like pushing the key you want. That's just a very like basic thing, but I know a lot of people get really annoyed with the hotkeys in this game, and that's like a simple thing. So that kind of goes into like a very nitpicky thing, but it's a detail I know a lot of people ask about. Beyond that, tips for it, I would definitely say starting with characters, you're going to have your elemental characters are going to be a lot stronger in the start, right? So a druid running, with elemental damage, sorceress with any of them, necromancer with magic, assassin with traps, Amazon with poison javelins and lightning javelins. Those sorts of things are going to just do better in this early game because characters like the barbarian or a zealot, who even does okay, but or a fury druid, whatever it is, any character that's going to be pure melee in this game really struggles. They're very gear dependent, and they're going to be very slow progression. It's not to say that it's not possible, but it just takes a while to get them going, and for a lot of people they can feel like they're running into a lot of just walls, right? They keep like hitting that point where they just can't really go forward. They need to go back and farm more gear and do more things, all of that. So I would recommend being more in the elemental style characters first, that kind of have that damage that always hits rather than relying on attack rating to actually hit something. Beyond that, I will say farming the Countess is also going to be a very crucial early game thing. Everybody should go and farm the tower. It's in the Black Marsh. You go in there, you go down to the bottom, you kill the Countess, make sure you get the Black Marsh waypoint, and you keep doing this over and over again. Number one, it's great for leveling. There's a lot of bosses along the way in the tower that are going to be worth good experience. So getting up to like level 12, 13 down there is pretty easy to do. But number two, you get runes from her, and this is very helpful because you can get runes such as Tal and Eth, which are going to be very helpful. You can make what's called a stealth rune word. It gives you FCR, FHR, FRW, and it'll just make everything so much easier for a lot of like the game for a little bit. So I would highly recommend, no matter what character you're on, get a stealth rune word. And then you can look at other rune words as well. You can make a leaf for an assassin or a druid if you're going fire, or a sorceress. You can make a nadir as just a helm to kind of help out. And then, of course, you can just get like Rao runes for fire resist that you can shove in shields or helmets or whatever as well, which will be helpful in like Act 4 and stuff. So the stealth rune word is a very like key early item though that I think everybody should go for, and just the Countess as well kind of helps prep you for the rest of the game.
Okay, cool. So good early game tip, farm that Countess. She's in Act 1. I do remember that. And I do remember there's a waypoint in the Black Marsh, and then there's like 5 levels of the tower, and then she's in the bottom level of the tower. Yeah, as you talk about it, it's coming back to me, but yeah. Okay, so that's a good early game kind of first thing to grind. Are there any good, let's say somebody's got a group of 2 or 3, are there any really good synergies? Like, I know that's a common question.
Yeah.
Like, should I be a barbarian and they be a necro? Like, are there any good, besides like try to play elemental stuff maybe for faster progression, are there any good synergies if you got like you and one buddy or something?
Yeah, so I actually once again have a video I made probably about a month ago on my YouTube that is like for every type of party, kind of how synergies work well together. The big thing with Diablo 2 is you can actually mix a lot of characters, which is a very nice thing. It's not like there's too many combinations that just truly suck. One of the biggest things that you have to really think about is like, is a character a damage character, a support character, a tanking character, and kind of balancing there. And generally, you want to lean more towards damage. So, for instance, if you're playing like 2 people and one player is a barbarian, the barbarian player is going to not really be doing a lot in that group at all, right? Because the barbarian overall is just very weak, struggles to hit all of that stuff. And so if the other character does a lot of damage, he'll kind of be a tank, but even then it's like he's not going to have near as much fun. Unless you're running like a barbarian with like a paladin who's also melee and you're both just kind of running through slow together. So the biggest thing I would say is at first really think about like pacing, because if you want to like stick with your party members and stuff, once again, if you have like a sorceress and a barbarian or something, the sorceress is going to kill everything and also just teleport forward. And the barbarian's just kind of like sit there like, well, what's my real role here? He doesn't really have
Run around picking stuff up.
Right, like pick things up, basically. So finding characters that kind of pace together nicely can be good. But additionally, if you want to look at some like later game synergies, you have things like a paladin can get conviction aura, which can be really helpful for all of your elemental classes. So that can be really nice. A necromancer has a ton of different curses, right? So he has lower resistance, for instance. He has amplified damage, all of these things. So he can be really helpful just for... Oh, the Necro's kind of nice always, especially if you run like a summoner or something, because you can always just like tank everything. And also have a curse to help your minions as well as your partner. Other than that, it's really kind of these little mix and matches. Like I say, in the video, I go a little more in depth on it. But essentially, you're looking for like good damage and then maybe some character to support it as well. So, for instance, a great example is the Druid has good damage. You've got Fissure and Firestorm and the Fire Tree. You've got Hurricane and Tornado, which is really great as well. All of that. But additionally, you have Oak Sage, which can be really nice for the party. So if you have Oak Sage boosting the life of everything, helping your partners and increasing the survivability of the party while also like adding to damage. So that can be really nice. And then, one more example could be like, if we have 4 players and all 4 of us are sorceresses, let's say, you can go out and actually probably do pretty well, but it's going to kind of be a more high skill group that's going to need to be very on top of things, because very easily, especially as you move forward, you're going to start running into immunities. You need to be talking and making sure the right people are in the right spots. And those are all going to be very fragile characters. So having characters like a druid with Oak Sage to help them out, or a barbarian to give them battle orders and tank a little bit, or a summon necro to be in the way, whatever it is, can really be helpful. Okay. So I know that it's not like the clearest cut thing right there, but that's kind of an overall piece to it. Is there's really just so many combinations, and that's why I love this game. You can really run any combination. The biggest thing is you have to make sure you have damage, and you want to make sure you're bringing in multiple damage types. So you don't want a fire sorceress with a fire druid and an assassin running fire traps, because that's great until you run into your first fire immune, and then everybody's like, what do we do? Like, oh crap. So make sure that you're mixing in your damage, having the people that do elemental damage, having the magic damage, having the physical damage, whatever it is. Just making sure you kind of cover your bases would be my best advice there.
And how important is making sure you nail your like skill point and your stat allocation? Is there ever a point?
Oh, it's insane.
So you really gotta like take 20 minutes and like plan what you don't want to just spend a bunch of crap on early, but you get like a reset, don't you, if I remember right?
Yes. So you get 3 resets, one at the beginning of every act. So the first quest, the Den of Evil, you get a skill point and the chance to respec your character, where you can reset the stats and skills, which is very great. But you can very easily burn through that and then like brick the character after that if you don't make it to the next act and have that next respec ready. So it does give you the ability to change around, and I actually think changing halfway through can be fun sometimes.
At the beginning of every act, you can respec.
Yes.
So
At the beginning of every difficulty.
oh, okay, okay. I was like, wait, really? I don't remember that.
Yeah. No, Act 1 for each difficulty. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So you can start as like fire traps and then move into like lightning traps, when you get like level 35 or 40 or something, right? And like change it up a little. So it has that piece, which is nice, but knowing what your build is going to be is very important in Diablo 2 because, like I said before, it's very easy to brick your character. If you're a sorceress and you put like 5 points into Firebolt and then 6 points into Ice Blast and then go over and start putting points into Nova and stuff, yeah, it might be fine for the first like 2 or 3 acts. And then all of a sudden, your character does no damage and you can't kill anything because everything required synergies for more damage and all this stuff, and you're just like, yeah, you do every type of damage, but it's so low that you don't do any damage, right? So knowing how you're going to build is pretty important. And like I say, for those people that are looking, I've got a lot of guides for that stuff there. There's guides just kind of all around. And then before Diablo 2 Resurrected actually comes out, I'm going to put up, I think, like 34 build guides on Icy Veins. And that's going to cover all the most popular builds down to like, Chaos Whirlwind Sins and kind of more niche builds that, aren't even possible to start with exactly. So I'm going to try and get all those up so people can actually like have a written guide that they can follow and see where do I spec every level, what do I do, all that stuff.
Okay, cool. Am I right in guessing that the sorceress is probably going to be the most popular class? Like that's probably going to be the most popular pick.
The sorceress or paladin are probably going to be the most popular picks. You might also see a lot of necromancers just because you have like the group of people that love summons.
Yeah.
So, but the sorceress is the easiest class to kind of magic find with since she has teleport built in. So that's going to be a lot of people's starting character. They get her, they level her up, and then they go and like do Mephisto runs over and over again to get gear for their other characters. And then once they kind of get more and more gear and get Enigma and stuff, then they'll like start making paladins because then he becomes this really good like match finding character and stuff. But sorceress is kind of the classic starting for a lot of people.
So for a beginner, would you say that'd be a good spot to start, or is the sorceress like a higher skill cap? Is there a better beginner pick?
Yeah, the sorceress is a little bit higher skill cap for sure. I definitely find a lot of people that play sorceress, one, you're gonna die a lot because she's very easy to die and she's very fragile. But once they get to hell and like super late nightmare, they start getting really frustrated because they run into immunities. And as a sorceress, you're pretty much specking into one tree. You can kind of do these like dual classes where it's like I'll be frozen orb and be meteor or blizzard and fireball, or you can kind of mix and match it. But for the most part, you're really specced into like one tree. And so when people run into cold immunes, all of a sudden they're like, I don't know what to do, right? So what I find is kind of a better starting class. This is actually my favorite starting class for people is the assassin. It's not as popular. Obviously, it's going to be a little slower if you get like later on for teleporting to magic find on Mephisto. So if you like want to really do that, getting a sorceress to do that is honestly not a bad idea. And you can even take her to just like Nightmare Mephisto and farm there because Nightmare Mephisto actually has some decent loot drops as well. But the assassin overall, I think, is a really solid beginner starting class that does well. And same with the druid, but the assassin's a little better. And the reason is the build isn't that crazy. You just like run into fire traps and just wake a fire until Act 3 of Nightmare. And then once you get like halfway through Act 3 of Nightmare, you just change it to light traps and go from there. But she also has Cloak of Shadows. She has Mind Blast. She has Burst of Speed. So she has a lot of utility that allows her to be very safe. And that's something I think for newer players that's really helpful is being able to just like Mind Blast a big area over and over again to just knock back all the monsters and convert them and do stuff like that. Or Cloak of Shadows and just turn the whole area dark so nothing attacks you, Those sorts of things give you that crowd control that a lot of the classes don't. So I like the assassin as like a great beginner class. I also think the Necromancer is a solid beginner class. He's going to be slower. But once again, when you have a giant army of summons in front of you, or if you're running a Bone Necro, but you've got, Bone Prisons, you can just literally Bone Prison the entire screen. Straight up, you can just like hold down right click and just fill the entire screen with Bone Prisons, and nothing can move. And then you can just like shoot Bone Spears at your leisure, Corpse Explode stuff. So once again, having that crowd control, I think, is better for beginners. But, once again, I know people want to get on the Sorceress.
Do you hit a point like for boss fights and endgame though when the Necro's summons are like trash and they're kind of worthless, or?
So there's a build called the Fishymancer, which is just the summons plus Corpse Explosion. And yeah, like you're not going to be insanely amazing against all of those things, but it's actually surprisingly pretty good. And one of the reasons, especially with like, say like Bale or something, is you have a Clay Golem and you have a curse called Decrepify. And when you stack the slow from Clay Golem and the Decrepify curse, Bale is actually too slow to cast any spells. So he just kind of stands there while all of your minions just surround him and beat him to death. And if you get a mercenary and put like a decent weapon on your mercenary, then your mercenary is going to wreck everybody as well, So it's one of those, like I say, very safe and a little slow, but it actually isn't like a terrible build. It's not like this horrible long thing that just takes forever, I like the Necro. I think he's a solid starter character as well.
Okay, cool. And since my channel's usually mobile gamers that play like on auto, what would be the most viable, like simplest build to play? Like simple, like you're not.
The Summon Necro is the most auto play character that there is, because you can stand up and go for a walk and come back, and your character's just chilling there, and all your minions are fighting. So that's like pushing the auto button right there.
So you just kind of like summon them on cooldown, like whenever they die, you summon more and run around.
Yeah. Whenever they die, you summon more. Whenever you get to monsters, you curse all the monsters. But really, you're mostly just chilling. So a lot of people love it because it's more of that autoplay, not having to constantly be dodging arrows and doing all the crazy maneuvers and tactics to do stuff, right?
Okay.
So I think that's a good one. And then the Trap Assassin, like I said before, is also solid because once again, you just like set up traps and then they just attack and kill everything as well. So both of those I think are your most auto play, with Summon Necro being very much that play.
Okay. And then the last thing I'll ask you to dive into is what's like is the beta like just to level 30, by the way? Or can you play as much as you want?
You can play as much as you want. The beta is only Act 1 and 2 normal though. So getting much beyond 30 is pretty hard. I think in the alpha it was the same thing, and I think the highest level character I had was like 34. It's just so hard to level that high.
Okay.
Like you're just farming the tombs over and over again, and eventually you just get such a high level that like they just don't give you much experience anymore at all, So 34, 35 is like the highest I think anybody will really get. Some people might go crazy and try for like 36, 37, but
And I asked that to segue to what's the pro llama strat for like 0 to 30? Like that first. Yeah, I know you said Black Marsh, grind some runes until you're about level 15 or 16, I think you said. And then it was
like 13, 12, 13, yeah.
12, 13, okay. And then what's the next step?
So you grind to like level 12, 13. I mean, I can give you a very quick beta, which is, start, run out, do the Den of Evil. It's just a nice like place to get your early experience. You get +1 skill. Continue forward, kill some basic things on the way, kill Rakanishu, whatever. Get to the Black Marsh around level 5 to 6, maybe 7 if you're like killing a few more things, that's fine. Run the tower until you're like level 12, 13. Get your Stealth Rune Word, Tau plus Eth, in a 2 open socket gray armor. Make sure it's not a mechanics 2 open socket blue armor. Make sure it is gray. The title says like leather armor gray, or whatever armor it is. Then from there, you're gonna go forward and kill Andariel. Once you're in Act 2, you can run around, Kill, a lot of good things to kill are like the beetles. So the beetles in the Far Oasis, the beetles in the Rocky Waste, all of that. The main thing is you want to kill boss groups. So you want to find boss groups and go kill the boss groups in all those areas. You can kind of keep killing around there if you want to, or like 16, 17, whatever it is. Go through the Arcane Sanctuary. And then when you get to the tombs, you're just going to be running through the different tombs. So you can just kill all the monsters in every single tomb. Every tomb will have a boss in it that's to the left of the way you come in, which won't make sense to some of you, but basically just like follow the wall clockwise. Whenever you go in, just like go clockwise. So you always want to be trying to go, I don't know how it's looking on your screen, right. But yeah, but clockwise to find the boss. And then if there's beetles, kill the beetles, and you just kind of clear it though. You just kind of kill everything in those. And then you'll just kind of like do that over and over. That's going to be the best experience that you're going to get.
The tombs in Act 2?
Yeah, the tombs in Act 2. And so you can just keep clearing those through. And the best characters would be like, for this, the Assassin and Necro aren't available in the beta. So I think the best character will be the Druid. You'll just want to get Fissure. And then when you drop a Fissure, just like everything in the screen in front of your character where the Fissure is just melts. And so it'll just like wreck all sorts of monsters. So I think the Druid will be fastest character that you can like power to 30 pretty quickly, I would say.
Okay. And you talking about the Arcane Sanctuary made me think of a random thing. I've heard so many tinfoil hat theories. Is there actually a way to know which direction it is? Or I know when we were growing up as kids, we always thought it was the way with the portals. The way with the portals is the way.
Right. There's no set way. So I've looked so much into this. I mean, I've delved just like so much into the code and everything. And the best that I've got is utilizing specific map starts that exit in specific directions. So like if you go out of the Rogue encampment to the top left, then you go top right to your Cold Plains, and then you go bottom right to your Stony Field. And then depending on which way your Countess layout is laid for the level 5, because it either lays out to the top right or to the top left. And every time it's to the top left, the seed is even. Every time it's to the top right, the seed is odd, for like your actual seed of the like random generation for the everything. And so utilizing like the starting maps plus the seed for the 1 or 0 at the end, I've been able to determine the like Arcane Sanctuary plus or minus like 5 points of the direction that it would more likely be in. And that's like the best thing. The best I've got is like 29%, 30% accuracy in a specific direction.
Which, for those of you that don't know, it's a 4 direction thing. So 25% is pure random, but the best you can get is like 29, 30%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
good to know.
And like 20% in like one direction, right? So I can kind of rule one direction almost out. I mean, obviously not, but I can make it 1 in 5.
Which is important because when you're a speedrunner, you need to know like which direction to go.
I mean, so it's great for speedrunning purposes, all that stuff, but overall, we don't have it yet. We don't have the full code crack, and there's probably so many details and things that would go into figuring out exactly how it lays. So
cool.
We're trying.
Hey, that's
nothing yet.
That's awesome.
If we eventually solve it, you'll know. I promise.
Hey, there you go. Well, is there anything before I let you go? Is there anything I didn't ask that would be a good thing to touch on for beta or to discuss before we wrap it up? Or
the biggest thing I would say is with the beta, just go in, have fun. You can try out a lot of stuff, play different characters and just try different builds, because you're going to be able to get to, level 20, 25 pretty easy, which can play a lot of builds. Getting to 30 will take a little bit longer. So, just go in though, have fun. They have controller support added. They have multiplayer, so we'll be doing like little fun duels and stuff. just all sorts of like messing around and whatnot. And then at the end of the beta, I'll have a giant feedback form that I'll create where you can input all your feedback about what you liked, what you didn't like, if something was, didn't feel right, if the controller could use XYZ, whatever stuff, right? And then I'll give that over to the developers. We did that after the alpha, and they loved it, and they got a lot of good feedback out of it there. So, yeah, that's the biggest thing, is just use this time to really check all the stuff and get your feedback in, because it does actually matter. And that's what I really love about Vicarious Visions right now, working with Blizzard on it, is they are very, they're listening a lot. They're very much just tell us, what we should hear, and what we should be doing and changing and focusing on. So highly recommend to do that and to give your feedback.
Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for your time, and I'll have links down below. Like you said, I know you have a lot of great YouTube content, and I'll link to the stream and the YouTube down below. So
awesome.
All right, thanks, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Fred.
You bet. See ya. Alrighty, so that's going to do it for this one. Huge shout out to Mr. Llama for taking the time to join me. It's always fun to pick his brain about Diablo 2. And like I said, down below in the pinned comment, nice and easy to find, I'm going to link to his channel and his stream. If you are looking to get better at Diablo 2 and learn more about the game, that is an awesome place to start. So I will have those links down below, and I definitely recommend checking them out. So as always, thank you for watching. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.